Producing live theater isn't just about show business, it's also about problem solving. But as coronavirus swept across the U.S., organizations faced a daunting obstacle they hadn't before.
First, because actors and directors were concerned about being in rehearsal in close confinement and all the intimacies associated with doing a play, and then is anybody going to show up?
As venues went dark, curtains ceased to rise, and audiences were forced to stay home, theaters around Albuquerque were faced with a solemn question. Can we survive COVID-19?
We made the decision before the governor did to close the theater because we felt it was unsafe.
Most theaters in Albuquerque are nonprofit organizations who rely heavily on ticket sales. The average community theater in town will run a show for 4 weeks, with 3 performances per weekend. Average seating capacity for black box theaters will vary between 60 to 100 seats. At an average ticket price of $20, many theaters are losing at a minimum between $14,000 to $24,000 for each show that doesn't run.
We were in the first week of Beauty and the Beast, which was a sold-out hit when we actually made the decision.
Henry Avery, Executive Artistic Director of the historic Albuquerque Little Theater, and Darren Foster, the theater's operations manager, are responsible for maintaining and filling the 500 seats of the theater. Fortunately, PPP grants allowed ALT to keep their staff of 17 employees on payroll.
Our staff has been working and doing repairs on the theater. Our costume manager has been doing incredible work in rearranging and taking care of the costumes.
The Vortex was also able to keep their staff employed because of the PPP grant. But federal support isn't the only thing keeping theaters like the Vortex and ALT afloat.
Our audience cares about the Vortex as much as we do, and they want to make sure that we're still here when we can start selling tickets again. And so in a way, it's like buying a ticket in advance. You know, you send in a donation and it's just a way of sort of putting your marker down to say, you know, when you guys can produce again, I want to make sure that, you know, I can come see it.
During the shutdown, theaters around town have gotten creative in how they still connect with audiences. The Vortex has produced a series of videos on the topic of courage and isolation. ALT has partnered with other companies like Musical Theater Southwest to stream intimate performances, such as the timely piece Before the Fourth. And companies like Tricklock and Duke City Repertory Theater have invited collaboration with artists remotely through a virtual reptilian lounge and no holds barred.
We're looking at getting up to speed real quick on live streaming and being very creative in the types of material that we can offer.
But by its nature, live theater cannot exist indefinitely online, an extraordinary plot twist caused by the pandemic.
It's denied us that chance to come together and share experiences together. Well, that's what the theater's for.
Audiences can most likely expect live theater to look very different once the doors are open. Limiting the seating to promote social distancing is almost a certainty and a universal solution for audiences. But what about the performers?
Yeah, everything we do as actors or as performers, singing, dancing, and speaking loudly are all considered dangerous activities.
One solution could be using smaller casts with actors in the same social cohorts. It could mean a rise in solo performances and an increased distance of audiences to the stage.
But of course, these are all hypothetical solutions, waiting for an audience with an uncertain timeline.
I've always depended on the kindness of strangers.
While COVID-19 stopped live performances, it hasn't stopped the generosity of Albuquerque audiences from supporting their favorite venues and companies. ALT's season ticket holders are still purchasing for the 2021 season, and the Vortex has continued to receive monetary donations, something board member Peter Kirst is deeply grateful for.
We're being very careful with the resources that we have and are very careful with the money that people are being good enough to donate, understanding that they're making an investment in our future, just as we've made an investment in our future, so that when we can produce again, we're able to produce again.
Theaters across the country are expecting their doors to be shuttered possibly through the end of 2020. And in the grand spirit of ingenuity and problem solving that theater artists employ on nearly every production, this may be the third act that changes the course of live theater's story forever.
As I said, our business is being creative. We're going to create something and we're going to make it work. I don't know what it is, but that's fun of the challenge.